Hello, I'm Bill Steger. I'm a retired CPA. I've been in Erie for 45 years, practicing accounting and auditing. And with me today is Mary Schaaf, our current Erie County Controller. And she has saved the taxpayers of Erie County over $6 million since she took office in 2012. So Mary is going to be seeking re-election coming up next month, November 5th, and so she could save us more money. Mary, I've known you for over 30 years, going back to when you were a financial advisor with Merrill Lynch. And need to tell you that as a CPA, I'm impressed with your hard work, your demanding accountability, and the implementation of new policies and controls that have saved the taxpayers of Erie County over $6 million. And we know that you are a nonpartisan, independent watchdog for the taxpayers. Tell us why that's important to you.
Well, Bill, first of all, I appreciate your being here today because with your knowledge in the accounting field, you know how important it is to do audits and put in controls after you do an audit. It's not just about finding misdoing or fraud, it's about preventing it from happening in the future. Now, what's important about being nonpartisan and independent is as the controller and going in and doing auditing and investigation, putting in new controls, I don't owe any favors, any political favors to anyone, and they don't owe them to me. So I can be totally objective. When somebody has been in the political arena for a long period of time, they tend to trade favors back and forth. And so that gets in the way of the independence. The controller's office is a separate elected office from the administration and council and all the other offices in the county. In order to maintain that distinction and that ability to function as a watchdog and work only for the taxpayers and not, vary your opinion based upon your friendship or your favor, you might own a political ally. I was never in politics. I spent 33 years as a senior financial advisor, as you mentioned, for Merrill Lynch. And so when I came in 2012, I didn't bring any of that political baggage with me, and I have been able to accomplish that $6 million in part because of the impressive ability to use my expertise.
That's very important, Mary. I know one of the things that we've read about is your tax savings related to the theft of ammo at the Erie County Prison, and also some issue with missing inventory. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, Bill, when I came into office, one of the very first fraud reports that I received was regarding the theft of ammo at the prison. In fact, it was being sold on the internet by guards who were taking it home. This was fascinating in that we did not only have the armorer and his wife arrested and charged with theft, but it also led to me working with the warden and the new armorer to put in new security and controls. And now I and my office, my staff, I have a very small staff of 4 accountants, we go to the prison and we actually count the bullets every year. Inventory was the same thing when I came in. I was being handed large stacks of sheets saying there's missing inventory. One of the places at the 911 center especially was missing hundreds of thousands of dollars of laptops. Wow. So again, I went to the 911 center, met with the director. We put in surveillance. We isolated rooms, their access so that equipment could not be taken out without knowledge. And again, we wrote a whole new policy for inventory. And we're using RFID identifiers where you can just sweep the room and identify the objects and make sure you have that inventory. And I worked with the administration and the finance department to write a new policy for inventory so that departments are held responsible if there is what they call, quote, missing. We all know things don't just walk away. You know, I'm a hands-on controller. I go out in the field and deal with these things. I don't just sit behind a desk.
Okay. Staying with the Erie County Prison, I read another article recently about a settlement, $125,000 settlement that you negotiated with the medical provider for the inmates at the prison. What was that all about?
Well, again, Bill, I had started a fraud hotline when I came into the office that is online. And this is another item that came to my attention through a tip that the medical director was not working the 14 hours a day, or excuse me, 14 hours a week, which was specified in the county contract. I went back to the original contract in 2012, and what we found was that the medical provider had contracted with the doctor for only 8 hours a week.
Wow.
So they were keeping the difference. So what I did after we audited the biometric login readings of the doctors and the nurses, et cetera, I had all the proof I needed to challenge the provider with fraud. And basically, eventually we worked out the settlement, which compensated the county for the missing hours, plus some. And even more important was the fact that we brought the provider to initiate new contracts with new physician and dentist, which now meet the required hours of the contract. So we have brought the medical provider in compliance with the hours that the county is paying for, that the taxpayers are paying for care for the inmates. So it's not just about doing the money, but it's making them comply. As the controller, I take in all the bids and requests for proposals into my office. They're delivered to me, and then, you know, we record the pricing, and I follow up afterwards in auditing the contract to see if those vendors have actually given us what we contracted to pay for.
Speaking of paying for items, I see where the new 911 radio system is costing Erie County $26 million. What can you tell us about that deal?
Well, you know, it is one of the most expensive projects that the county has ever taken, and I know how important this is to the emergency workers, the fire, the police, the volunteers, in being able to communicate with each other. We're happy that this is coming to fruition. They're actually going online now. But during the process we've been going through for the past 4 years, I've been involved with not only taking in the bids and the contracts, but I also have been going out in the field. A good friend of mine is Mike Kabelka, who works for WICU TV, and he actually is the tower expert in Erie County as far as he's helped Penn State Barron and other places put up their towers. Mike and I have actually gone to the tower sites with the construction people. I've actually climbed to the top of the Hammett Hospital UPMC building to go up, you know, the tower, and to understand when I'm reading the contracts, when we say we paid X million dollars for certain equipment or X million dollars for so much concrete, do we really have that? So this is going to be a continuing process of auditing now that this has just finally, you know, got to the point where it's functioning. We actually are just finishing up paying the bills. And as you know, when you do an audit, you do it after the bills are paid, not before.
Let me change pace here a little bit. I know you're the secretary of the Erie County Pension Board, and you discovered a huge financial savings there several years ago. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, and here, this is what makes my background to be controller unique, in that, as I said, I have a bachelor's degree from Mercyhurst University. I have a master's degree from Edinburgh. And then I have certification from the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania in portfolio performance measurement. During my financial career, where I help people plan their retirement, help them plan for their children's education, the ability to live well, etc. One of my specific areas of expertise is in pension performance. So coming on as the county controller, one of the functions is to be the secretary of the pension board and a voting member. When I came on in the pension, I came in knowing that I need to get up to speed, so I read Act 96, which is the Pennsylvania law for counties' pension plans. And in reading the very first page, I discovered that for 40 years or more, the county had been illegally calculating pensions by using what they call vacation buyback in the last 3 years. The pension law specifically states right there that you cannot use vacation buyback where the county buys back a certain number of vacation days from the employees when they retire. And the employees, of course, were pushing this off until the last 3 years when they could use it to calculate their highest 3 years. When I discovered this, I immediately went to the pension solicitor, and we then went to the board, and we terminated that practice. And so that was a huge savings for the county.
How much did that accumulate?
Well, I figured over a 20-year period about $4.4 million.
Wow, $4.4 million in savings for
Right.
the taxpayers.
And the other thing I discovered in the pension when I came in is that even though we had a consultant, you need a consultant to do your asset allocation and to direct the board to managers and do manager searches, et cetera. And we had money managers, but there was something they called third-party contracts. And basically, these third parties were not money managers. They were not the consultant. They were just getting paid by the pension. And that goes back sort of to that political background that exists where favors are given to people in return for campaign contributions. As controller, I have never taken a campaign contribution from a money manager for the pension or from a county vendor. That's a conflict of interest.
Wow.
So it
How
took,
much does that save the taxpayers
Well,
with the money managers?
well, getting rid of the third-party unnecessary consulting fees was over $800,000, I calculated.
Wow.
And this was money that we, the taxpayers in Erie County, we totally fund the pension. So this doesn't come from any other source. So this was a huge savings.
Well, I see we're down to only about a minute and a half left here, Mary. Very quickly, can you tell us about the article that was in the paper this spring about the county receiving $50,000 from the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections? How did that come about?
Okay, well, fortunately, I was talking to another controller from a county downstate who has Muncie Women's Prison in their county. And in our conversation, I discovered that that county had been receiving reimbursement per a memo of understanding going back to 2001 that the state signed with all counties saying if you had a prison on your property that was state-owned and a death, murder, or whatever offense occurred and it was tried in your county, you could be reimbursed from the state. And so I went to our clerk of courts and I went to the court administrator and said, have we ever done this? It had never been done before. I coordinated with the district attorney and all the offices who gave me great cooperation, and that's how I got the $50,000.
Wow. Well, thanks, Mary. Our time is almost up, but let me just tell you, as a a citizen of Erie County and a taxpayer of Erie County, I want to urge all the voters on Election Day, November 5th, to come out and vote for Mary Schaaf for re-election for County Controller so that Mary can continue to save us taxpayers money. And it's really not just about accounting, it's about accountability. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Bill.